Hello, this is Janet with Brush by Design Creations, and we're going to go ahead and paint this flower vase with, it's technically called Love Blooms here, and I'm going to go ahead and use the colors that are in the kit or were sent to you as part of the virtual membership. So we're going to go ahead. I've already got it traced on here. I traced not every single detail, but all of the pieces that we need. I'm going to use 4 brushes today, and that is going to be this a 1-inch flat brush, this medium round. It's about a number 8. I don't really think it's labeled on here any longer. Number 6, number 8, and this liner brush, which is a small brush with the point on it. Then I'm also going to use, I've got a 1-inch 1-inch chip brush here. We're going to use that for a portion of this, and I've got my water and my plate and all of my paints. So we're actually going to start with some teal paint, or I'm going to use a turquoise blue. So I'm actually going to use a turquoise blue. The kit may come with a Laguna, which is a slightly different color, but I'm going to go with a little more of the blue today. So do the blue, and that is a Deco Art, and this is another thicker white that I have. It's actually Creative Inspirations, and it comes in these larger bottles, so sometimes I like to use that. And we're going to start with I think we'll just start with this chip brush, and we're going to mix a little bit of white and the teal in the background. So I can also use my 1-inch flat brush as well, but if you want to use your chip brush, you can cover quite a bit of canvas fairly quickly. And if you're going to paint, see, now I want more white. I don't normally like to paint with a chip brush. They're kind of messy, but I'm going to be using this later on in the painting when we go to put in one of the particular flowers. So I will just, I'm going to actually switch out to my flat brush and grab more white. And I'm going to go ahead and paint it in with my flat. So I actually want this to be a lot lighter here, and that chip brush laid down quite a bit of paint. So I'm going to kind of try and pull some of that back and use it in other areas. So I'm just going to go around these flowers by using the flat or the chiseled edge on my brush, and we'll go ahead and clean some of this up when we go to add the flowers in. I want to make sure that I don't have any piles of paint. That's why I'm going to pull some of this off here and move it on to the rest of my painting. So I'll pull that extra. And I'm going to get some more white because I really want this to be a little lighter. So I'm going to just blend a whole lot of white in there to lighten that up. And pretty much I can do the majority of the background here with this 1-inch flat brush by just coming in around the flowers and the leaves. Not being perfect because I can always recreate that spacing. You just want to make sure you get up to those flowers so that you don't have extra blank white canvas area. But you can, if you would like, you can swap out to a smaller brush. I still got quite a bit of paint up here. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to start bringing it around. I'm going to go up to the table here, and for now I'm going to stop at the top of the table while I get the rest of the background in. I'm going to go around the vase, make sure I get right up there so you're not seeing too much white. If you go a little over, we're gonna go ahead and clean all that up when we go to paint the flowers, the leaves. If you'd like, you can outline this in Sharpie if you're worried about losing some of that, you know, some of the design. But most of the time, if you've got the color light enough, you will be able to still see that tracing. If you've used that carbon paper, you'll still be able to see those lines. So I'm kind of grabbing more white to get a little brighter and less deep. I will most likely add more white onto that corner there. But you can really do this background whatever color you would like, however dark or light you want it. You can use many different colors to paint that background. So we're just going to keep going around. I'm going to go ahead and get in here, and I am going a little bit over on the leaves, and like I mentioned, I will still be able to see that, especially as my paint is getting lighter and lighter. You can grab a smaller brush to get in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the very edge of the brush. All right, don't forget to get the sides of your canvas as well if you are painting the sides. Oops, a lot of paint on that one. Lighten that up a little, get it a little more even. Now there is something we're going to do on the edges at the end if you choose to, where we're going to use some black. That will be optional. I'm going to get some more blue in here, kind of even out this tone. So I can brighten this up. If you got yours a little too bright, too dark, and you want to brighten it up, you can brighten it up on a second coat. So I'm going to just go ahead and let this dry, and we will move on to the next step, which actually is the table. So what we're going to do is I am going to make the table a little darker. Kind of put a dark line here. I am going to add some white, but I am going to make it a little darker than the top itself. And then I'll use the edge of my brush here to get around the vase, just making sure that I come all the way up to the top there. And we're going to add some more colors onto this, the top of this, table as well. Looks like I need more white. And I'm just going all the way up to the flowers, just kind of working the edge of my brush in there. I'm going to make this line a little darker, come down. And just make sure I spread all of that paint out. And I'm going to grab the sides as well. Painting the sides and the top and the bottom is definitely optional. but I really like to do it at my preference. So when it's hanging on my wall, the painting just looks complete. And I don't have to frame it. I can just hang it right as is. That's what I really like about the stretch canvases, is I do not have to frame them. All right, get this last side here, and we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to go ahead and paint in the flowers. We're going to grab this Royal Fuchsia. This is a dark pink, so you can use whatever color works best, you know, that you have. You can even change them and not make them pink at all, and you can make them whatever color you'd like. I'm going to use my round brush here. You can use your 1-inch flat, but I find that using the round brush works the best for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fill this flower in with wavy, and I'm actually going to add a little white to my brush at the same time. So I'm going to get a variation of colors, but I'm just going to go ahead and go around all these. So one of the important parts of these flowers is to not lose the individual blooms. So that's why it is helpful to grab white on your brush at the same time, and as you're painting the different blooms, make them different in color. So I will, for example, here's where this bloom starts. I will make this one a little lighter so that you don't lose the difference between those two flowers. And you want to kind of go in a circular motion, you know, wavy motion, the way the flower is going around, and that will be beneficial when we go to do the layers on top of it as well. So all the brush strokes are going kind of in a circular motion. So I'm just going to continue working on these flowers. You can pause or fast forward me for the next step. This area right in here is not technically a flower, but we're going to go ahead and fill it in. I'm going to use some of the darker. This is kind of, you're seeing almost like the back sides of other flowers in the vase. So this is just going to get, I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in with a darker color like it's the back end of a flower from the other side of the vase. I'm kind of grabbing some of that extra paint that's sitting loose on the canvas and working it in, using up what's on my brush, kind of giving it a little bit of a variation. So you can see the different levels of pink, darker and lighter. And that is our base coat for the flowers. So now we're going to go ahead and use this chip brush again. And what we're going to do, now I've got the blue on it, so I'm going to pull this particular blue off as much as I can. Actually, I'm going to grab another chip brush. I do like the 1-inch chip brush for this. Let's get this out of here. And what we're gonna do is we've got that navy blue and we're gonna make some purple. So we're going to take the brush and mix some of that dark blue with the pink. And I'm really just gonna move it over, grab some, kind of pounce it out. To the point where I get that to be like a purplish color. So I need more pink. Add it to that and it's a nice purple now. And I don't want a lot on my brush, so I'm going to kind of wipe it off on the side here, making a little bit of a mess. And what we're going to do is we're now going to pounce on some of the colors, or some of the flowers that you'll see in the background there. And I'm going to go ahead, we've got some leaves in here, but we're going to pounce in, make sure I don't have too much paint. We're just going to pounce in some of these random little sprigs. And this is just going to be like the base coat. We're going to introduce in some other colors, but we're just going to add some of these little extra flowers. We'll go ahead and go right all the way around this leaf. And you want to see, you know, you don't want to fill it in completely. And we'll do, grab a little bit more. We're going to do one kind of hanging off of here. And then maybe we'll grab another one right between here. If we paint, I can, it's okay if I'm getting some of those leaves or the base because I'll paint over that. And then I can go and grab just the blue and I can put a little bit of blue on the tops of this, and then we'll wait. So I'm just dipping a little bit in the blue, just adding a little bit of blue to this as well. And we can actually do one on the vase if we want, but you could do one off the base here, but I'm going to just stick with these right here. So I'm just going to set that brush aside, and I won't need to do any more for that. But I do have now some of this mixed paint, so I'm going to get just a little bit of water on my brush there. There it is. Wipe it off on the side. I don't want too much. And I'm going to grab some of this purple on my brush, and now I'm just going to kind of almost dry brush. Let's wipe that off. Dry brush, but yet I used a little bit of water, and I want to just put a little bit of purple on the table here. You can put as little or as much as you want of this, because we're going to go ahead and use, let me grab some white. I'm going to go ahead and add in some white as well. Actually, that's turning it more purple, so we may wait and add this as a second step. We will add more as it dries. And if you get too much, you can always grab more of the teal and you can introduce that. Well, it's turquoise blue, but you can introduce some of that turquoise blue back in if you're getting more than what you want. So you just kind of work on your table till you get it the way you want it. We'll add some more white in after this is all dry. Right now, if I add the white in, it's just going to go ahead and add, you know, it's just going to blend. So now, actually, we're going to use this same brush. I just had a little bit of blue on it. And we're going to, you know what, I could grab that blue, and we're gonna kind of put some dry brushing, a little bit of blue on the vase. So just a little bit over here. Some of the purple's coming through, but that's okay. Some of this will be covered up with the black, and but some of it will come through on the white portion. So you can just add a little bit of character to the vase with that same brush. And then we are going to paint in the black stripes. So I'm going to clean my brush off here. We're going to go ahead and paint in the black stripes on the vase now. And because I dry brushed or just lightly brushed, these should already pretty much be dry. But I'm going to go ahead and take my flat brush, put it in the paint kind of on both sides. Sometimes I like to wipe that up against the side so that the bristles are nice and tight. And I'm going to do this lower one in the black. So I'm going to just go ahead and outline, and then I'm going to pull down. Grab some more paint. So I like to outline with the chiseled edge and then go ahead and pull down into the vase itself. I'll do that around the bottom edge, making sure that I go ahead and cover up that line that I traced. Depending on how you get this painted on here, one coverage or one coat should be good, but you can always add a second coat if you feel like it's necessary. You can also use your smaller brush. So if you'd like, you could use the round brush for this if you're more comfortable with it. But there's a way that you can just kind of use the very edge, and you can get that little spaces filled in with the very edge of your brush too. I always like to say or suggest that you use the biggest brush that you're able to. I want my flower to be a little curvy, so I'm going to clean up that line a little bit. And then we're just going to go ahead and fill in the other two spaces the same way. I'm going to come all the way over to this edge. And then we've got one more space right up here. This one is going to come right up to the flower. And with the reference picture, there's leaves and different flowers in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring it right up to here. Again, feel free to grab a smaller brush if that works better for you. I may grab one over in this corner here. I'll go ahead and grab my round brush for this little corner. Get it all cleaned off, wiped off, and just go ahead in here around these leaves. Actually, I took this just a little bit too far up, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and paint over that with white, and it'll just kind of look like there's a shadow there. So you just want to make sure that you have all the white spots filled in. So if you need to, you can come back down, clean up some of the edges with that smaller brush, and just make sure that you have the white of the canvas all covered. I'm gonna clean up this little edge right here. And if you want, clean up that edge down there. Okay, so there's the black stripes. If you feel like they need a second coat, you can add a second coat after they dry. But next we're going to move into the leaves, and we are going to take some of this dark Hauser green, and we're going to do a base coat on the leaves. And for that, I am going to use my round brush, so I'm going to clean that off, dry it out, and I'm just going to go ahead and get a base coat on all of these leaves. We're going to add different layers on here, do some different highlights. So this is just the basic. Now, if you feel like you need to change to your liner brush to get to some of these smaller flowers, feel free. I like to roll my brush in my paint to make sure that I have a nice edge. Some of my brushes I need to condition, so I'm noticing this one's splaying a little bit, but that's okay. But you feel free to pause or fast forward. I may actually fast forward here on the video at some point. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my liner brush and grab this small one right here. While you have the liner brush too, you can add the lines for the stems. I'll make it a little, kind of a little wider so that I can get some detail added into that painting later on. All right, so I will go ahead and I'm going to line this one, and then I'll start filling in. They're like little football shapes. Don't forget the leaves inside the flowers here. And I'm putting my sleeve in there. So if you need to, you can use your pinky as a kickstand on your canvas, and then that way you're not putting your whole entire hand in wet paint. And you're steadying your hand. This one's a bigger one. I could probably grab my bigger brush. Go ahead and get the outline in. And grab my bigger brush. Oh, a little bit too wet. I like to pull that, if I outline it, I like to pull that paint inside so that I don't have that ridge. And, oh, don't forget these guys down here. And clean up this little edge with the outlining that I do, or just make my leaf a little bit bigger. All right, I'm going to turn my canvas and grab these guys here. Actually, well, let me get them in, and then I got to do that little stem as well. Use up this paint I've got on my brush to get this leaves filled in. And then I'm going to grab my liner brush and finish this one up. Go ahead and grab the stem. Use some of that extra paint I've got around. Little one peeking out right here. He's optional. Round this one out a little bit. And then use up the paint on my brush. So there is the basic of the leaves. And what we can do now is we can take our liner brush, and some of them are already drying, so we can take this citron green or yellow green, and we can start adding in just a little bit of that, maybe on my ones that I started with first, to just brighten up parts of it. You can do it when it's wet as well. Let me show you what that looks like. We'll grab one of these wet flowers, and we will just brighten it up a little bit with some of this yellow green. It blends in with some of that darker color, so it gives you another color green. I actually like that look as well. And if you want, you can go ahead and grab some of the darker green to blend that out even more. Like if it already dried and you think that you're putting in too much of that lighter green, you can go ahead and grab some of the darker green and blend it out. Like this one got a little heavy, and go dip back in that dark green and then go ahead and blend it out a little more. But really, it's just adding a pop of color into those leaves, giving it a little more dimension. And they don't look as flat. And we're going to add some more details to them as well. But this is just the first detail to brighten up some of this green. And grab a little more darker color here. Kind of blend that out a little. The more you brush it, the more it'll blend. And the less you brush it, the more streaks you'll see. So that's how you can do that first layer on the leaves. Now we're going to do quite a bit of outlining. So we are actually going to outline with black, with a smaller liner brush and black paint. And we're going to outline the vase and the leaves. I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of water to my black paint just to the edge here, just to get it to where it flows. And then I take my liner brush and I roll it in that paint. I don't want too much on there. And then I'm going to start outlining. So here I'm going to outline the side of the vase. Now I have not painted the vase stripes white yet, and we can do that, or you can leave it the canvas. I prefer to paint it, so we'll probably do that after we do a lot of this lining. You can clean up the edges of the vase. Oh, I forgot a leaf. There is one leaf right there that I forgot. So these lines can be as thin or as thick as you would like. You do want, when you're doing, your leaves or any of your flowers, you do want them to be dry. So grab the ones you painted first. These flowers we have not added the rest of the detail on yet, but you can outline the flowers. You can do it with one line, you can choose to do it with one continuous line all the way around, or you can even do kind of broken up. This one I really want it to pop off the table though, so I'm gonna go ahead and outline the whole thing for sure. Make it a little thicker here. And then we're just gonna go and grab all of these leaves. So you can just pause me or fast forward and go ahead and take care of all of the outlining for your leaves your flowers and your vase. Okay, I'm going to catch up by grabbing this leaf here I missed. Grab that dark green, grab a little bit of the light green, kind of lighten it up. I'll have to wait for that to dry before I can outline that one. So just take a look and make sure that you got all of your leaves and flowers outlined. I'm going to go ahead and add, we're going to do the details on the flowers yet, but I'm going to go ahead and paint the vase white, the rest of the vase white. So grab more of that clean white. And this is preference. You can actually just leave it, but I do like, oh, got quite a bit there. I do like to paint all portions of the canvas. I prefer to see that paint on there. So this is up to you if you do this step or not. After this, we're going to start adding details to the flower vase. Flowers, leaves. So again, you can use your flat brush for this. I'm going to cover a little of that blue up, but it's going to come right through this white, so you'll still be able to see it. If I need to, I can come back and clean up any of the edges with the black. But I really do like to see the paint on there rather than the canvas itself. All right, I may need to grab, you need to grab your smaller brush for in here, or if you just want, I'm going to actually clean up this little spot right here. And I'll clean up the black there too. Throw in a little bit of paint there, and then the bottom. canvas is moving. Okay, I'm going to grab my liner brush for this area. Probably get it with my flat brush better than the round. So you can try to use your flat brush here and just use the tip of it and get around everything that you've already done. The liner brush allows me to get right on up to that line without going too far, kind of like what I did up here. Okay. I'm going to spread out some of that paint. Let's go ahead and I'll grab this and add a second layer. Kind of cover up a little bit of that oopsie that I had there. And I'm going to grab some of my black and just straighten out that line. Then I've got some missing spots here, so I'll go ahead and throw in some black paint there. Not sure what's going on here. It's a little discolored. I think I had too much water in it. And I'm just going to clean up this one little area. And I went a little stray on the white. One of the fun things about this painting, though, is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's whimsical, and therefore it just does not need to be perfect. Now, I'm going to take my round brush and we're going to start adding in some details on both the flowers, and we'll work on these flowers in the background, but we're also going to work on the big flowers here too. So I'm going to grab some black paint. Actually, I'm not going to do the black first. I take that back. Let's do, I'll add the black last. I'm going to take some of this pink paint and I'm going to go ahead and do like C shapes. So just circular on the parts where it's lighter. I'm going to take some of this darker and do some of these random C shapes kind of in a circular motion. And we're going to do that with white, trying to stay out of the purple that I mixed. I could also, what I can do is, oops, I got a little white with some pink there. I'm going to do a lighter pink and even do some lighter pink. I'm going to roll my brush actually. Let's grab that pink. Looks like it got a little tiny bit of blue in there. But instead of taking the pure white, I'm going to take this lighter pink. Grab some more. Mix it up. Roll it, kind of squeeze it out of my brush a little bit. And then just add these random, I guess you could see them, you can kind of see them as commas. You can even grab some of the white and do it with just the raw white. There's really no specific way to do it. I'm going to grab some dark pink, throw some of the dark pink in here. You're just going to go back and forth. Just give these flower's motion. With this in this circular motion. And then I'm going to add the centers of the flowers. We're actually going to use the turquoise blue for that and give them a pop of the blue. Kind of one of the things I like about that is it ties all the different colors in. Add some dark pink over here. That actually had a little bit of the purple in it. You could even do that. We're going to add some black in it as well. Okay, so there's some of those. We're going to take pure white and do some pure white, probably maybe make more pops of the white. Let's see where we're at first. So there's the just white with a cleaned off brush. To just add a few more pops of white. You can make these small, you know, thin, thick. You can really make them however you want them to look. Every time I paint this, it looks different. And every one that I paint it with, they all look different as well. Okay, that one needs some pink. Let's get some dark pink in here. My white's going to turn pink. I've got some pink going on. Oh, and then don't forget about this guy down here. I'm going to start with a little bit of just the pink, the dark pink, and I'll work our way up. That one looks a little more blended, but you get the idea. Now, let's actually go ahead and add some white. We're just going to do some random swipes of white on the leaves. So this is really where we're just adding all of that detail. Just adding that dimension. Not too much on the white. Okay. Then, oh, got a couple more. If you want, you can add a few, a little bit more of that citrus lime green. And that gives it a different look as well. You don't want to go over the white, that's wet. So maybe just next to it. Again, all of this is optional. But if you want to get a little more of that lime green for a pop of color, then what you can do too is you can add some little streaks of the lime green right down the stem. I'm just using the tip. just using the tip of my round brush. Just give that a little bit of dimension. Add some white in on that one. Okay, so now I also want to add a little bit more white on the table. Seeing how I'm working with the white. I actually want to get some thicker lines of the white on this one as well. So let's grab that. Oops. This white is kind of a thick paint. I needed more white in there. Then what I'm going to do too is I'm going to actually add some white, a white line right down here. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to use my liner brush instead. And I'm going to moisten my white paint a little bit. I'm just going to paint a line on this side. And it got a little dirty. Sometimes I get my paints a little mixed on my plate. Try not to. And then over here, there's a nice long line. Now you can even use, I didn't talk about this earlier, but you can even use paint pens for this part. I'm just going to bring a line right down here. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want, or as dark. I'll fill this one in a little bit. Oh, I got a little pink. It's okay, doesn't look bad. A little pink on that one. Okay, so now I want to take and add some more white on my tabletop. Clean off my round brush, I believe, and I'm going to get myself some clean white. And I'm going to go ahead and add, put it in my brush, kind of roll my brush around. I don't want a lot, but I'm going to kind of swipe in almost like dry brushing a little bit of white spots on the table. Just randomly. It'll lighten up a little bit as it dries. Do you know, and I'm also noticing here that I forgot to outline my table with black. So I'm going to grab black and I'm going to go ahead and put one straight line there for the tabletop. Grab some water here, get this a little more moist. And then I'm going to grab the other side, just using the very tip of my round brush, because I don't mind if it's a thicker line. And then I'm just filling in a couple of spots here on the vase. And that looks like it needs it with that extra leftover paint on my brush. Making sure, of course, I don't paint over anything that I've already painted. So I'm just going to kind of wipe all that paint out of my brush. There we go. All right, then the other thing I noticed was we'll catch up on lining that tree or that leaf that we forgot. And then that's outlined as well. All right, so now I do want to add a little bit of dimension to these little sprigs. And so what I want to do is I want to grab some more pink, and I am going to pounce in some pink and maybe some white into these. So I'm just using my round brush, and I'm just going to randomly add a little bit of pink throughout, just by pouncing right on the top of it. Just to give this a little bit of dimension as well. And I can also, I will also do that with a little bit of white. You don't want to go too heavy. You don't want to cover up everything. If you want, you can mix some more purple up. That was the pink and the blue. And if you feel like you need to fill in some areas a little better, you know, maybe clean up some edges, you can do that with this round brush as well. If you get too much pink in there and you want to cover it back up, go ahead and take some of that purple, fix that area. And then I actually want to do a little bit of sprig hanging down here with just the pink. So I'm going to take just pink on my brush. Again, I'm using my round brush. It's a little bit on the wet side. And I'm actually going to just go ahead and pounce in one hanging right down here. Now I could use the chip brush for this, but I'm just going to use this, and then I'm going to add white to give that a little bit of multicolor. Kind of lighten that pink up. This one's optional if you just want to add a little extra. And then I can even add some blue, like to one edge. Nope, be careful you don't add too much. And then I want to add some white dots. I'm just going to go ahead and use the back of my brush, and I'm just going to add some dots. Oh, that's kind of a big one. Let's use the smaller brush. I'm going to use my liner brush handle, and I'm going to add some dots. I'm going to add a couple of dots to the leaves, and we still have the black to add yet. Add a couple dots up here, give this a little bit more dimension. Not a lot, just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use my liner brush. Get some of that black paint a little wet, and now we're just going to add some black to the flowers. Oh, and then I see we forgot some sprigs. So these you want to do less of. But just to add another color in here, you can just add some different swipes. Got a lot on that one. Just randomly. less on the black than you did on the other colors. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add some sprigs. I'm going to take my liner brush and that dark green, and let's just go ahead and add some random, just little branches or twigs sticking out in different areas, just to give it a little character. Can even do one where it comes a little bit over the flower. Maybe a couple of down here. A couple up here possibly peeking out. You don't have to do much with that. You can darken them up with a little bit of black if you want, but black will really take over, so you got to be careful with that. You just kind of flick it up and lift, and then you'll get the little random edges there. I'll fill this in just a little bit. If you use a little bit of water in your paint, if your paint's starting to dry, that really helps. So, okay. We got everything outlined. Oh, we forgot some black down here. There's a random black there. And then you just decide how much more you want to do. I'm going to grab some more turquoise blue, but you decide if you want to add any more details to anything. I am actually going to add, I'm going to try it with the tip of my liner brush. I'm going to add like a couple of dots just in the center of each one to just introduce some of this blue in. Just to pull the color in from the background. And then you decide if you want to do any more. Don't really like the blue dots there, so you decide on that one. I think I'm going to clean this one up with a little bit. Bring in some more pink on this one. It got a little on the blue side. I'll just use my little brush. Just kind of bring in some more pink on this one. Oh, let's keep forgetting this little guy down here. Kind of put in some of that. All right, so then the last thing that you would decide if you want to do is to add that black around the edges. And so I will go ahead and demonstrate that. It looks great without it, but if you choose to do it, I will show you. I'm going to need more black paint. I want nice, fresh, clean paint. And I want my clean, flat, mostly dry, flat brush. So really wiping that off on my rag. To get that mostly dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab some paint, wipe it up against the side of my plate so that the bristles are nice and tight, and I don't want a lot of paint, so I'm going to wipe some of that off. And then you can go ahead and just randomly go on the side and pull it over the very edge where you're getting an uneven finished line there. And then it looks kind of like you framed it. you want to lift, 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 lift. So pull it on the side, lift, 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 lift. Not a lot of paint on your brush. And then you'll get this really rough edge. So you can see I'm not using much paint at all. I'm going to swap my brush the other way. I'm going to go ahead and reload a little bit. I actually poured way too much paint. I'll probably paint the sides of this black now though. And then I just keep putting it right on the edge and then lifting so that I have that really unfinished raggedy edge there. And it kind of looks like you framed it. It has a black frame on it. You just want to make sure you lift, 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 lift. So I'm grabbing the edge and coming all the way over and then lifting and hardly coming over the side very far at all. And the farther in you want it, then you would pull your brush over that side more. I will probably finish this up by painting the sides completely black. You decide if you want to. I'm just kind of catching all of the edge as I go here and just cleaning up some of those areas. But I will most likely come through and paint the entire sides black to match. But that is our Love Blooms painting. Love Blooms here. And you can do the flowers any color you want. You can totally change it up. You can totally change up the background, the tabletop, everything you can change up. But that is our Love Blooms here. So thank you so much for watching and painting along.